So guys, today we are going to discuss one of the most important concept when it comes to software development, that is unit testing. So we will discuss what is unit testing, what are the different ways to implement unit testing. I mean, what are the different framework provided by .NET for implementing unit testing. We'll also understand what is the difference between unit testing, integration testing, and end-to-end testing. Each type of testing for from what type of job, I mean, for what kind of operations or what kind of testing, what type of approach you need to implement. We'll discuss how to implement unit testing in ASP.NET Core web application also. We're also going to discuss how to implement a mocking, right? I mean, creating a fake object. So all this concept we are going to discuss today and in the next session. Let us start the session. See, imagine you visit a doctor for a regular health checkup, even when you feel perfectly healthy. Why? Why you are visiting regularly to check your health? You are not visiting because you are sick. You visit to detect health issues early. When a problem is identified at an early stage, it is usually easier, faster, and less expensive to treat than waiting until it becomes serious. The software development approach follows the same principle. Instead of waiting an entire application is completed to figure out the bugs, developer test individual piece of code as soon as they have written. So by identifying the problem in the early stage of development, developer can fix them before they spread to other part of the application and become more difficult to identify. So this process is called unit testing, right? So in ASP.NET Core web applications or web API application, MVC application, any type of application you take into consideration, right, including the console application, desktop applications, unit testings are commonly. And unit testings are common. And the unit testing basically used to verify some of the things. What are the things you need to verify using unit testing? The business logic. If you are creating one real-time enterprises application, which is going to involve the application layer, business layer, data access layer, or you can say services. So the logic is going to be written within the service classes. Repository class is there, which is going to interact with the database. Controller is going to make use of the services. So most of the time, we are going to write the logic, business logic within the service class. So what we need to do, we need to identify with whatever the business logic we have written, whether they are correct or not, whatever the validation rules we have applied, whether all validation rules are applied successfully or not. If you want to do some kind of a calculations, for example, uh, some discount calculation. So your logic is that if the total order amount is greater than 5,000, then I can apply a 5% discount. If it is not, then discount should not be applicable. So that kind of calculations also you can test using what I can say unit testing with a transformation logic. So basically your domain entities are going to be there, DTOs are going to be there. The mapping between the domain entities to DTO is it perfect or not, any kind of exception handling logic. For example, right, mostly in real-time applications, we are using custom exceptions. Custom exceptions means what? Now, if we are searching for some product and product is not found, so we can throw product not found custom exception message. Suppose one product is there, product stock is 10, and user is right trying to place a product, place an order with the stock with the quantity of a 15, which is not available. So in that case, we can also throw some kind of a custom exception, that is insufficient stock exceptions, right? So all these things we can easily unit test using unit testing. So what we are going to learn today, first of all, we'll learn the fundamental concept. Then we'll see how we can implement this concept in real-time application. So see, guys, remember. So this is the application that what we are going to develop, and right, I have already created. So you can see for a real-time, right, a real-time. For example, this is my order service, which is going to contain some two methods. One is creating the order, and another one is verifying the order. And for this or right method, I have created so many service unit tests. So to understand this concept, right? I mean, to develop these applications, first of all, we need to understand the basic concept. Until and unless we are not understanding what is unit testing, how unit testing is integrated, how we can write your test cases, and if you directly jump to understand this application, it is going to be very difficult for you. So now in today's session, I'm not going to explain this thing. So this thing I'm going to explain tomorrow. So tomorrow, in the sense, right, how to unit test the service layer, how to unit test the repository layer, how to unit test the controller layer. So you can see in my application, right, different layers are going to. So this application we are going to develop today itself only. But before that, I'm just going to give you some clarity. So we are going to create some repositories. You can see product repository, order repository, customer repository. You can see we are creating some services like order services. You can see I'm creating some controller like orders controller. Unit testing means what? Whatever the method we define, whatever the public method we define within the controller class, we can test independently. Whatever the public method we defined within the repository, we can test independently. Whatever the public method we defined within the service class, we can test independently. So there are many different questions that might be coming to your mind, sir. If I'm performing the unit testing independently, for example, this is the order service. This order service without this external dependencies cannot perform anything. Then when I'm going to perform unit testing, for example, this method, how I can supply these instances. So in that case, we need to use something called the mocking. How to use mocking? Everything we are going to discuss. So before that, let us first try to understand the basic concept. Clear? Clear, guys? Okay.
Yes.
So first, what is unit testing? Before I explain, anyone else can explain me what is unit testing? What you understand, right? If someone asks you in the interview, can you please elaborate what do you mean by unit testing? Then what will be your answer?
The small unit of code which can be tested.
Smallest testable part of an application can be tested independently. That particular terminology independently is very, very important. Sir, what do you mean by independently? For example, if I'm having one method, right? Suppose controller action method is there. Controller action method invoking the service class method. So if I'm going to test the controller action method, whether that action method is working as expected, then at that time, it should not have any direct dependency on the service class. Whatever the because see, I want to test my controller action method is working as expected. If there is some issue within the controller action method, that should identify. But it should not identify the issue that is going to be caused by the service class or the repository class. So any smallest testable part that can be tested independently. In C sharp, unit testing is that particular unit is usually a method or a small observable behavior provided by a class. Sometimes it's a class, sometimes it's a, but most of the time it is going to be a method. Depending on the design, a small class can also be treated as a unit under the test. Okay, we'll discuss what we mean by unit under test. The main purpose of a unit testing is to verify that the unit produces the expect result for a given input. For example, suppose an ASP.NET Core Web API contains an order service class with a method that calculates the total price of an order. So one order service class is there, and that class contains one method that calculates the total price of an order. Then a unit test can verify the calculation. So whenever I'm going to write the unit test, for example, okay, let me open my project so that I can explain this concept very clearly. Okay, let me open the unit testing project, for example. Now, suppose what my question is to you guys. Suppose I want to test this method. Now, without unit testing, I want to test whether this method is working as expected or not. How you can do this? Any approach is there? I don't want to write. I don't want to test right from where this method is being called. I don't want to test whatever the logic is written inside this get by ID method or inside this right other method, whatever get by ID product or create whatever. So I don't want to test any other method. I don't want to test from where this method is being called. How you can test whether the logic whatever you have written here is perfectly or it is correct? There is no way that you can test without using unit testing. So unit testing means what? I'm not going to start my application. I'm not going to run the controller. I'm not going to invoke the endpoint. So this is the endpoint. I'm not going to run my application. I'm not going to invoke this endpoint. But I want to test this method. And that is the reason why we are going to use unit testing. So without starting the web API, without sending an HTTP request, without connecting to a database, without integrating any payment gateway. Suppose you are developing any order service, the payment gateway definitely is going to be there, without accessing the file system. If you are going to integrate with the file system, nowadays it is a database, but sometimes it might be file system. Without doing all these things, how you can test whether a particular method or it work as expected or not? So this is where unit testing will come into the picture, right? So a good unit test should be small. You should not write, I mean, whenever you are writing a unit testing, it should have a specific job. You cannot combine multiple things within a single test. It should be fast. Fast means what? It should run very quickly. Why it is going to run very quickly? Because we are not doing this thing. I'm not running my application. I'm not sending any HTTP request. It is not working with the actual database. Then definitely it is going to be work in memory, which is going to give you faster result. Independent. Independent means there is no dependency. There is no dependency right on anyone else. Repeatable. Repeatable means if I'm running the same unit test again and again, it should return me the same result. Result should not be vary based on the number of times we execute. Easy to understand. So the naming convention, whatever we provided to the unit testing, that should easily identify what is the purpose of that text. For example, if you look at my unit testing method. So here I'm giving the name create order async. This is the service class method. That's what I'm invoking. When request is null, if I'm sending, for example, this is my order service method. So this method I'm calling from here. And whatever the object is this, right? For this method, this is the input parameter order create DTO. No, not this controller. This is the order service and this is the order create DTO. So you can see when the request is null, if this order create DTO is null, then from here, my application is going to throw an exception. What the exception? Argument null exception. So here it is saying create order async. When request is null, throw argument null exception. That means what? By looking at the name of the test, it should clearly tell us, or tell anyone what exactly this text method is going to do. For example, another method is there create order async. Again, the same test method I'm going to test, but with a different logic. So when customer ID is invalid, for example, that the customer ID is there, and we expect our application expect that this customer ID should be greater than 1. If I'm passing a negative value 0, now when a customer ID is null, throws argument exception. So here you can see, right, it is also throwing argument exception, right? Another scenario, let's see, right? So again, this is one scenario. Now create order async when customer does not exist means what? Now customer ID I am providing, some valid value I am providing, but that ID is not exist in the database, then in that case, it is good. It should throw me not found exception. Now, if you look at this, so here I'm working with the repository. I'm in the database, and here whatever the customer ID provided, if that not exist, then it is going to throw me not found exception. So like this, by looking at the name itself, it should tell what this method is going to do and focused on one behavior. See, if it's not be like that. See, here I'm working on the same order create order method, but for each behavior, I'm creating a separate test method. I'm not putting everything inside a single test method. And that is not the main motive or main objective of a unit testing. Each unit testing should perform a single operation. Clear?
Yeah.
Right? Okay. Now, suppose let us try to understand the use of a unit testing. Suppose we are having one method. What is that method? Add method, which is taking two number, first number and second number, and it is going to do the summation, and that result it is going to return. It's a very simple method. Now, how I can write a unit test for this? So this method is going to perform the operation add operation, and if I'm passing 2 and 3, it should return me 5. In this case, what you need to do, you need to create a unit test method. What is that unit test method name? First of all, which method you want to invoke? Add method. Second, What is the condition? The condition is I'm going to call this method when called 2 and 3, 2 and 3. When called with 2 and 3, that means I'm going to call this method with the value 2 and 3 and returns what? It should return 5. So in this case, this is going to be my act. So we'll discuss this thing. What is act assert, right? Arrange act assert. So this is going to be arrange. We'll discuss what is arrange. The second one is going to be act, and the third one is going to be assert. So what is this triple A arrange act assert? We will discuss. So basically, this is how we need to create a text method. In the text method, arrange means make your method ready. Suppose it is belongs to a calculator service class. So create an instance of the calculator service class. Then call that method. So calling that method, whatever the result I'm getting, assert, it's going to verify the result. What is your expected result and what is your actual result? If both are matched, that means unit test is success. If not matched, unit test is going to be failed. So this test verify only the behavior of the add method. It doesn't test the complete application. See how many classes are there within the calculator service class? Doesn't matter. What it is going to do, only this behavior, whether the add operation performed successfully or not. Clear?
Yes.
Actually, I lost you due to some network issues. So you are showing only method. We have one method, and for this we are writing one more method to and in notation we are using fact, right? And
See,
here we are doing
if you are having some internet issue, please watch the recording session.
no,
Because
actually just change my network. No, meanwhile I lost.
what is your query? Question. What is your question?
Can you tell explain one more time?
No, I can't explain right again and again the same thing. If you are having some internet issue, please watch the recorded session. If you are having some query question, then I can explain. But I'm not going to explain the same thing again and again. It will waste time of other members. Right? If you are having any query, right? Because see, whatever I'm showing at this point of time, forget about this. So what I'm trying to make you understand is one method is there, and how I can test that method using a unit test. So that test method I'm showing. And how to create, what is fact, what is arrange, what is act, what is assert, we'll discuss. What you need to understand is, so one method is there. If I want to test this functionality, whether this method working as expected or not, right, what behavior, I can create a test method and I can verify, right, whether it is working fine or not. And it's very simple. Let's assume this class belongs to this method belongs to a calculator service class. Then how you can invoke this method? Forget about unit testing. So how you can verify? Now, first of all, you need to create an instance of the class. Suppose we have the
Yes.
following method inside the right calculator service class. Let's assume, right? Then how you can test, right? Forget about unit testing, whether this method is working as expected or not. Forget about this fact attribute, forget about this name, forget about this
Mm.
arrange at action. So what you need to do?
We create
Calculator
object
service
and
instance,
with the object we are
then
accessing
you
the
need to
method.
invoke this method.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And once you
Yeah.
invoke this method, then you can verify if result equals to 5, unit test success, else unit test fails. That if else condition, that automatically in this case it is going to be provided by the assert class. Assert equal, if this result is equals to 5, it will mark the test as success, else it will mark the test as fail. How
Okay,
it is
got
going
it.
to mark what are all methods provided by assert class, we'll see in detail. We have already discussed the characteristic. It should be fast, it should be repeatable, it should be independent, and it should be easy to understand. Now, before proceeding further, before understanding unit testing and implementing unit testing, can anybody tell me the difference between these three types of testing? Unit testing, integration testing, and end-to-end testing. Because if you are attending the interviewer might be asking this question. Anyone? Can anyone explain me?
Unit testing nothing but some small unit of work can be tested, and integration testing means dependency is there. No? Then we are going to further integration testing, one model to another model, or one method to another method, and into means begin to end
Right.
in application.
So basically, Unit testing means testing the smallest individual unit. For example, if I'm having this order service method, then unit testing means it is only going to test this order service method. It is not going to check, right, how the repository is working, whether the repository is working as expected or not. That functionality is not going to be tested by unit testing. Unit testing means only the individual unit. Integration testing means what? Multiple component. Multiple component means what? The service to repository, controller to service. Right? So the combination is working fine or not. For example, if I'm taking the integration testing, so here create order method is there. And the create order method is also working with this get order by ID async method. That means what? Now this method plus this method, both are working as expected or not, that is going to be your integration testing. Unit testing, you can implement on your own machine. No, nothing is required, only text framework. Integration testing, you need the text server. That what you need to install on your developer machine. That is in right and then only you can perform the integration testing. End-to-end testing, you need a staging environment. You need a test environment where you need to deploy your application. For example, you want end-to-end testing means you have to test whether the complete registration flow is working as expected or not. Registration is there. After the registration, OTP verification page is there. Email verification is going to be there. That complete flow is going to be your end-to-end testing. For example, order place functionality. And complete order placing to the payment phase, that is going to be your end-to-end testing. And in real-time application, guys, remember, very less number of end-to-end testing we are going to do, and then medium number of integration testing, and a huge number of unit testing we need to write. So if you look at this diagram, which is clearly say purpose, unit testing means verify a small piece of code independently, means only that method is going to be tested, no other method. Integration means what? Verify whether multiple components work together. Multiple component means what? Controller to service or service to controller. That's what you need to understand. Integration testing means verify the complete application from start to finish. That complete registration flow, complete order placement flow, complete payment flow, whatever. Scope, it is very narrow. Narrow means what? Only one method or one class. And it is medium. Medium means integration between component. And it is going to be wide means the entire application starting from the request flow till the response. That complete flow is going to be tested with end-to-end testing. What it tests? Unit testing is basically going to test business logic, calculations, validation logic, exception handling. Very small for small red features it is going to test with the unit testing. And integration means what? The service with the repository, whether they are working as expected or not. Repository with the database, whether they are working as expected or not. Controller with the service, right, whether they are working as expected or not. So this kind of testing you can consider as a integration testing. And here the complete flow, complete user scenario, complete business scenario, UI with backend, right? Definitely the UI is going to be there from UI till backend, whether the complete flow is working as expected or not. So dependencies. So dependencies means what? Now, for example, in this case, if I want to test this method depend on some external dependencies, these dependencies. So without the instance of these interfaces or these abstract classes, right, that operation is not going to be completed. So in case of a unit testing, it is going to create fake instances or mock instances of these external dependencies. So here you can use mock, stops, or fake, but no real external system is going to be involved. Use some real component means what? Some testing database is going to there. You can use that database to test your application, and here use all real components. So starting from the UI till the database, everything is going to be right original. There is no right fake. So speed, as this unit testing doesn't involve with real components, it is going to be very fast. This is moderate because some real component will come into the picture, and this is going to be slow because the complete overall flow it is going to be test. Data, it's mostly right in-memory data, simple data. For example, you can see in order service test, if you look at my create order method, it is working with in-memory data. So the data, whatever it is going to return, I'm going to create those data, right? So those data is going to be provided with in-memory. But in this case, some test database, and in this case, the real database is going to be used. So example, if someone asks you, can you give some example? Okay, testing a calculation method, testing some validation role, testing a service method. These are the examples of a unit testing. And here the combination, right? Whether two components are working as expected. Testing service with a repository, testing repository with a database, testing a controller with a. So when I'm saying API endpoint, you can consider this is the controller with the real services. And here the complete flow. Complete means the complete order flow, the complete payment flow, the complete registration flow. That's what you need to test using the UI and the backend. So runs where this unit testing it is going to run. It is mostly in the developer machine. This is going to be run in the development machine or test server, and this is going to be the test environment or staging environment. So test server means it is some kind of packages that what you need to install on your machine. Here, right, only mock if you require that what you need to install, and this is for a unit server, right, where you need to host your application. Goal ensure the unit test unit is correct in isolation means independently. Ensure right components work together as expected. Ensure the complete application flow work as expected from the user's point of view. Clear, guys? If someone asks you, can you please elaborate the difference between unit testing, integration testing, and end-to-end testing? You need to tell these points. Clear? Now
Yes.
you are having some idea related to this three testing environment or not?
Yes.
Okay. Anyone having any question before proceeding further?
Sir, is this X unit or N unit?
xUnit. Okay. Now, what I need to do, we need to understand the different framework which is provided by .NET for performing unit testing. Since several frameworks are there, one is xUnit, another one is NUnit, and another one is MSNet. So xUnit is the modern and widely used testing framework for .NET and ASP.NET Core applications. So important xUnit attribute are fact, theory and the inline data. So in our syllabus, right, in this training program, we are going to use xUnit because this is the recommended approach for .NET Core applications. It uses some attribute like fact, theory, inline data. What are these attributes? We will discuss how to create. Now you have to create a method, and that method is going to be decorated with the fact. Other, if not fact, then theory and inline data. So what is the difference between these three? We'll discuss some time. So xUnit is commonly selected, right, for the new ASP.NET Core projects. So if you are working with the new ASP.NET, so this is the recommended option for developing the unit testing. If you work with the NUnit, right, it is a mature and feature-rich testing framework, and it is basically used in with the .NET framework applications, right, old applications. There only you can use if you are working with ASP.NET Web API or ASP.NET MVC, right? In that application, you can go with the unit. It also provides some, right, what I can say attribute like a test and a test case, and you have to decorate that one. And the MS Text, this is the Microsoft testing framework, and it is very closely related to, right, Visual Studio. Some older applications are there, right? They can use this MS Text. So you have to use this text class and a text method to create a unit testing. And in our application, we are going to use this xUnit. And whether you use xUnit, NUnit, or MSNet, all these testing framework are widely supported by right, .NET CLI as well as Visual Studio. So we are using Visual Studio, so we can easily integrate any of these testing framework, and whatever you want you can use. And in this session and in this training program, I'm going to use xUnit. And once you understand using one testing framework and on creating test cases using other framework is not going to be a big deal. Clear? Clear, guys? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so let us proceed and create a simple console application first of all to understand this unit testing. Then we will develop, right, one real-time ASP.NET Core application to understand how exactly it is going to be implemented in a real-time application. So let us first go ahead and create one console application. See, as I mentioned, Unit testing means it can be used with any kind of a .NET application. It is not related to only ASP.NET Web API or MVC. It can be used with the console as well as desktop application. So let me first proceed and create a console application of type C#. So Windows machine, and here you can select something called console. So this is the console application. If you are using .NET framework, this is, and this is for the .NET, or you can say .NET Core. So console, my project, this project is already there. So let me create a different click the next button, click the create button. This should create the project. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a simple calculator class which is going to perform the add object, add sub, mul, and div operation. So what I need to do, I need to add a class file to this project. So let me go ahead and add this class file, calculator service.cs. And this class file is going to contain some method. What are the method? The same four operations that what we generally do, right? Like the very simple method, add method, which is going to return two number. This is subtract method, and intentionally I have made this logic wrong. Why? Because when sometimes what happens, if everything is working as expected, that's fine. How if something went wrong, how we can figure out what exactly the issue? So that is the reason why initially I have made this logic wrong, and I will show you how unit testing is going to be failed when I'm going to test this subtract method, and then how you can identify what went wrong and how you can fix this one. This is multiply, so it is going to multiply the two number, and this is the integer division, right? Integer division means it is going to return the integer number. Here, I mean there is no decimal point. For example, if you divide 5 by 2, it is going to return 2, not 2.5. And if you want 2.5, then the return type is going to be double or decimal. That's what you need to obey. So this is a very simple calculator service class. Is this class clear to everybody?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes.
Now what I need to do, I need to create a text project. So what I need to generally, wherever you create your main project, within the same solution, you need to create the text project, and the text project name generally give whatever the project name dot text, not mandatory, but recommended. So and what type of a project we are going to develop? xUnit text project. So how you can add this? Now right click on your existing solution, add new project. And here, what I need to do is what I need to search xUnit. And this is xUnit text project. Click next. And once you click next, then what should be the project name? Name is going to be calculator app.text. So give the project name as a calculator app.test, not mandatory but recommended. And click on the OK button. So now, once you once you create this project, right, then what will happen? You can see this text menu is also visible. The text menu is also visible now. So this is my test project, and this test project wants to test which class and which method? The calculator service class public method. If I want to access this calculator service class public method, then do I need to add a reference from this project to this project? Do I need or not?
Yes, it should be required. No,
Right.
then only
So
it will
how
be.
you can add? How you can add the project reference? Add, right, and here you can see project reference, and select the calculator app and click on the add button. So once you click on this one, now from this project I can access the public class and whatever the public method within that class from this project. That's fine. Now, so before proceeding further and writing unit test, first of all we need to understand three particular terms, that is arrange, act, and assert. So let us first understand what is arrange, act, and assert. Arrange means what? Prepare everything required by the test. Suppose I'm going to write a unit test. And in that unit test, what is my objective? My objective is to test this add method or subtract method. So how I can test? So arrange means make everything what is required or what is needed by the what is needed to test it. For example, I need an instance of this class. I also need this first number and the second number. So this data, whatever the data is required to invoke this method, that's what I need to prepare first. Means creating the required instances and preparing the data which is needed by the corresponding method. So that is nothing but as part of your arrange. Arrange means creating the object, preparing input value, defining the expect result, configuring fake and mock dependencies. So currently this part is not available. We'll discuss this in the next uh, project. But for now, so if I want to invoke this method, then suppose I want to invoke this method. I need to create an instance of a calculator service class, preparing the input values. So if I want to call this method, I need two input values. One is a first number and another is a second number. So first number if I'm passing 2, second number is I'm passing 3, then I also need to prepare the expected result. So the expected result, I can create a variable with the value 5. So this is what you are going to prepare is nothing but your arrange. Clear? For example, you can say variable calculator, new calculator service, integer first number 2, integer second number 3, integer expected result 5. So this is nothing but your arrange. Clear?
Yes.
Right. So act means what? Execute. See, right. For example, if you am having an instance of this class, and if I'm having the first number and the second number, whatever the input data, then using that instance, can I invoke this method by passing those two input values? Yes. So act means what? Now execute the method or behavior being tested. A unit test should normally contain one main act operation. Only one main act operation it should contain. And in this case, you can see once I have this calculator class instance, calculator service instance, using that instance, I can call the add method by passing the first number and the second number. And whatever it return, that will be my actual result. So act means what? Execute the method being tested. Clear? Clear or not?
Yes, sir.
The third one is assert. Assert means what? Compare the actual result with the expected result. If the result matches if the result matches the expectation, the test passes. Otherwise, the test is going to be failed. For example, here assert dot equal whatever your expected result and whatever your actual result. So this assert dot equally this equal method is going to check. This is provided by in xUnit. Right of this asset class is provided by unit xUnit framework, and it is going to check right whether these two values are matched or not. If matched, then the test is passed. Otherwise, the test is going to be failed. So in short, arrange the data, act on the system, assert the result. Arrange means whatever the data is required, make ready. Act means call the method being tested, tested. Assert means verify the result, whether the result is as expected or not. For example, you can see, so here I'm preparing this RH, this is act, and this is assert. Clear? Clear or not?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes.
Now when you are going to use xUnit as the testing framework, then you need to understand three important attributes. One is fact, theory, and inline data. So what is fact, what is theory, what is inline data, when to use fact, when to use theory and inline data, let us try to understand. The fact attribute makes a test method. So basically when I'm using this fact attribute with a method, it will mark that method as a test method. But what is that method is going to do? Now, it will not take any input through parameter. So basically what I can say, fact is the attribute provided by xUnit framework, which is going to be used with the text method, which doesn't take any input parameter. So in this case, does this method having any input parameter? No. So if the method doesn't take any input parameter, that means what? That means you can use this fact attribute. Fact attribute means when the test doesn't require any external input parameter. Whatever the data required, that is going to be prepared within the method. So if it is not taking external parameter, means what? It can only test a single scenario. Sir, what is the difference between testing a single scenario, testing multiple scenario? To understand that, we need to understand this theory and inline data. So first of all, remember, fact means no input parameter. Fact means it tests a single scenario. For example, if this is my method, add method. So fact means what? I can write a unit test which is always going to pass a fixed value. Suppose first number is 2 and second number is 3. Always it is going to pass 2 and 3. It cannot pass 10 and 5. It cannot pass some minus 10 or plus 5. That multiple different kind of values you cannot pass. You can only pass the fixed value. Sir, my requirement is that I want to pass a different kind of values. How is that possible? Then if that is the case, then you have to use theory and inline attribute. So basically, fact is mean for no parameter. So when your text method expects some data, input data, or you can say, if you want to create a parameterized text method, you have to use the theory attribute. So parameterized text method means what? That the text method with the input parameter. If the text method is created with some input parameter, then you have to decorate that text method with the theory attribute. Sir, why we are creating the text method with the theory attribute? Now, if I want to pass some input parameter also, I want to pass a different kind of input parameter to the same text method. Then that in that scenario, you need to use a theory. But sir, this theory attribute doesn't have any other parameter, right? Only no constructor is there within the theory attribute which will accept parameter. How is it possible? Now, when you are using the theory attribute, along the theory attribute, you have to use the inline data attribute. So using this inline data, we can provide a set of input values to a theory method. See, for example, right, when called returns expected. So here you can see first number, it is the second number, and this is the expected. So basically, you can see this is one method, and this method expect how many parameters? 3 parameters. So first rule is clear. If the method doesn't take any parameter, you have to use fact. If the text method takes some parameter, whether one parameter, two parameter, or multiple parameter, you have to use theory attribute. And in case of a theory attribute, you are not going to pass any fixed value. You can provide some different kind of value. For example, I want to test one scenario, 2, 3. If I'm passing 2 and 3, the expected result is 6. This is one set of value. At the same time, I also want to pass a 2, minus 2, 3, and I want the result should be minus 6. I also want to pass 0, 5, and the result is going to be 0. That means what? Now the same text method I have written, but I want that text method to be tested with a different set of values. And if that is what your requirement, you have to use theory with inline data. Fact means no parameter. Theory with inline data means with parameter. Clear or not?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, whenever you are creating the unit testing, most important thing is the unit test should clearly identify or clearly describe its purpose. So, describe its purpose means what? Now, the unit test method should describe which method being tested, which this method is being tested for which scenario or with which input conditions, and what is the expected result. So the scenario means what? Whatever your method name, I mean the method being tested. The second one is the scenario, I mean the scenario or input value conditions. And third one is the expected result. For example, suppose I want to test this add method, add. So when called with 2 and 3, this is the input conditions. When called with 2 and 3, result returns 5. This is the expected result. So subtract, when called with 5 and 3, returns 2. Divide, when dividing by 0, then it should throw me right through divide by 0 exception. So this is the method name, this is the condition or input conditions, or scenario or input condition, and this is the expected result. So if I'm calling the divide method, where assigning the divide while I'm dividing with 0, then I should get this divide by 0 exception. Clear?
Yes.
Clear or not?
Clear.
So this is how you can give the method name. Not mandatory, but following this approach will be good so that you can easily. Now, So what I need to do, I need to test the service class method. So what I'm going to do, please observe. I can create a class. Okay, first of all, let me delete this unit test one, which is created by default, and right click, add a new class file. Okay, now let me copy this code. Okay, now let us try to understand. So first of all, you can see I'm injecting this xUnit framework. So this is my calculator service test class. So I'm going to test this calculator service. So I'm giving the class name as calculator service test. Any name you can give. So first of all, you can see I'm declaring a field to hold the calculator service instance. And within the constructor, right, I'm creating an instance of that class. So every time you do a test, it will create an instance of this class. Means what? A new or you can say brand new calculator service instance is going to be created for each test. Here you can see add when called with 2 and 5, 2 and 3, it should return 5. So first number, second number, expected result. So this is going to be my act part. So not only this one, this is also part of your act. So whatever the dependency object you are making ready, this is also part of your arrange. Then act means what? Once arrange is ready, then call the method. So calling the method means this is act. And whatever the expected result and what is the actual result, that what I am going to test here. So if the expected result and actual result both the same, this assert that equal will mark this test is success. Otherwise, it is going to return right. It will mark fail. So subtract, right, when called with 5 and 3 returns 2. So this is what I am expecting. First number, second number, expected result, calling this method. If both are same, the test is going to be success, otherwise fail. So this is multiply when called. See, in this case, I'm mentioning what is the input condition. Now this is a scenario when called. So multiply when called, return the expected result, right? As in this case, I'm not mentioning the with 5 and 3 the data is not mentioned. So data, I'm going to test with the multiple data. See, so multiple data means what? You can see this method is having some parameter. So parameter means can I use a fact? No. Then what I need to do? Use theory. So when I'm using theory, so the data for the input parameter I need to supply using the inline data. 2, 3. If I'm passing 2, 3, my expected result is 6. If I'm passing minus 2, 3, then expected result is 6. If I'm passing 0, 5, the expected result is going to be 0. So arrange is provided through the inline data. So whatever the inline data that is already provided. So there is no arrange within the body. Actual result, call the method and verify the result. Then when divide when called with 6 and 3. So basically you can see this is the divide function and I'm going with the fixed value 6 and 3. There is no input parameter. So in this case I'm writing this fact. So dividend is 6, divisor is 3, expected result is going to be 2. And here I'm verifying the result. So when divided by 0, it should throw me the exception, divided by 0 exception. So here you can say division. So now act. So calculator the divide. So in this case, guys, remember, right? In this case, what is I'm expecting? I'm expecting one action. Action means what? It is a delegate. So this delegate, what I'm getting from here. So once I call this method, it will return me a delegate. And from the delegate, I'm checking, right, whether this delegate throw a divided by 0 exception. So if divided by 0 exception is throw, that exception object we can store here. And in this case, right, this assert that throw divided by 0 exception, this condition is going to be true, right? When this action means whatever the method we created here, if that method return me this divide by 0 exception, then this condition is going to be true and test is going to pass. And if you want to check what exactly the exception message, you can also verify. So you can see division by 0 is not allowed, and this message you can also expect from the calculator service. So you can see division by 0 is not allowed. So the same message you can verify here. If the message is different, then the unit test is going to be fair. Clear?
So
Yes.
while you are using these action delegates, without action cannot do that one.
See, right, because in this case, this is a text method, right? You cannot write a try catch and all those things. And in that case, if there is no try catch and all these things, right, how your asset is going to handle what type of exception is being thrown. So this is the reason why action, right? This is a delegate. And
Yes,
we
yes.
just created this delegate. And at this time, the delegate is going to be fired. And once the delegate is fired, right? Yeah. So whatever it is written, it is going to check whether that whether this action is written the divide by zero exception or not. Okay. So once you have written the unit test, right? Then how to test. So now I'm going to show you how you can test all the unit test method at the same time, and how you can test one by one, and how you can test with the test in the debug mode. So first of all, you can see this text, and here you can see run all text. So click on this run all text. So once you click on this, just expand this one. So you will see 7 text methods. So now you might be one question, sir. In my application, I have created only 5 methods, 5 text methods. Then why it is showing 7? Okay, let's first run the application. See, test is ready unit test failed. So you can see all these 4 text methods are completed successfully. You can see here you can see within less than 1 second the text is completed. And here this is important. So why the text being failed? So assert dot equal failure. Now this assert dot equal failure value differ. What value? Now expected to actual is going to be same 7. That means what? By looking at this service method, right? I mean text method, you can say this subtract when called with the 5.3 returns 2 is being failed. See, my logic is fine. My test method is fine. I'm passing 5.3. I should expect it 2. But what I'm getting 7. 7 means there is some issue in the service logic. So there is some issue in the service logic. And the second thing what I need to do is, you can see that the multiply method, for multiply method, 3 test cases are running. One with 0 and 5, another one is 2, 3, another one is minus 2 and 3. That means what? So this single tick, right, this method, this method, this method, and this method, they are using fact. And this method is using a theory. Theory with the 3 inline data attributes. So 3 inline data attributes and 4 facts. So total 7 methods are going to be there. So now you can see 1 fact, so 2 facts, and here 3 facts, and this is the 4th fact. For unit test method, and for theory, there are 3 inline data. So 3 unit tests. So total 7 tests are performed. Now, which method is being failed? The subtract method. Why it is being failed? Because here we are not expecting, here it is returning 7. Why it returns 7? Let us proceed and verify the method implementation. Yes, the logic is wrong here. So we have added this 5 accidentally or intentionally, whatever it may be the reason, the logic is wrong. Now correct the logic. So once you correct the logic, right, then again perform the test. So this time all the test cases are passed. Clear?
Yes, sir.
Right. So that is fine. But sometimes what happens, I only want to test a single method. Sometimes what happens, I want to test a method in debug mode. How I can do this thing? So in that case, you can go to this text and the text explorer option, test under the text explorer. So from this text explorer, once you open, now I want to test this method. So right click, run, right click, debug. So run means what? That this individual method is going to be tested. Now I want to debug this method. So right click, debug. So before debug, what you need to do, subtract method you want to debug. So in the service class, put a debugger pointer here and go to this implementation class, put a debugger pointer here. Now open this text explorer and right click and debug. So once you debug, then it is going to run the text in the debug mode. So now you can see I'm in the debugging mode. So you can see these are the constant variable which are going to be created at the compilation time. This is my actual result, what I'm expecting. So this is subtract method. So here I'm getting the result. So here you can see actual result 2, expected result 2. So expected result, actual both are true. So the test is going to be success. See, test is a success. Clear? How to run an individual method, how to run all the method, how to run a method in debug mode. Is that clear?
Yes.
Sorry? Clear, guys?
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Now, before understanding the real time, before implementing the real time application using unit testing, first of all, we need to understand this asset class. See, in this case, we are only using two methods, equal method and the throw async method. So we have used this equal method and a throw method. Throw method we are using because it is a synchronous method. If it is a asynchronous method being tested, then you have to use throw async, right? So these two methods we are using. But apart from these two, many methods are provided by the asset class. So what is asset? The asset class is an important class in xUnit framework. It provides a list of static methods that verify whether the result produced by the code matches the expected result or not. One of the method we have discussed, assert.equal. So it will compare this value and this value. If the value are equal same, then this test is going to be pass. Otherwise, it is going to be false. So asset can also verify values. Asset can verify conditions, null reference, object reference, collection, expect exceptions, string, object type. So many things this asset can verify. So let us try to understand the method, whatever it provided. Equal method to check whether both values are equal or not. Not equal means in this case it should not be equal. Condition, if you want to provide a condition, right, verify the condition true, verify condition false. It is going to check whether the value is null. It is going to check the value is to not be null. Expected and actual, verify the two object references are same, two object references are not same, right? It is going to check, verify the collection is empty, collection is not empty. It expect that a collection contain this expected item. It expect that the collection doesn't contain this exception item. It will check whether a collection contains only single value. It will check the type of a value, right? The object you are expecting actually, right? Or a specific type of a value you are expecting. And this is going to throw the, right, what I can say here, verify that of an operation throws exactly the specified exception. So if you look at this, throws specified exception. So that's what it is going to check. Clear, guys? Clear?
Yes.
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 And whatever all method I have provided here, most of the method we are going to implement right in our real-time application development project. So the basic part is clear to everybody, or anyone having any doubt?
Yes.
Okay. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to build a real-time application, right, with the controller class, with the service class, with the repository class, with the unit of work, with the custom exception handling. So all the things right, I'm going to implement. So let us proceed and create one scenario where we can right, verify the real unit testing in real-time application. See, in real-time application, you are not going to work with the calculator service class. In real-time application, you are going to work with the controllers, you are going to work with the services, you are going to work with the repositories. And in that scenario, the class and the method are not going to be straightforward like this. Most of the time, the class right is going to be created with some kind of external dependencies. And most important, guys, you have to remember, if you want to write a proper unit test for your project, then your application should be interface based. Your application should be interface based. So interface based means what? Now you should not create the classes directly. If you want to create a service class, if you want to create a repository class, first create an interface, implement that interface. What is the benefit? Now once we have the interface, then any implementation we can inject. Once we have an interface, any implementation we can inject. That implementation should implement that interface, right? So let us proceed and develop one real-time order management application for this. So what is the scenario we are going to develop? We are going to create an order for a customer. So that order is going to validate whether the customer exists. It is going to validate whether each product exists, check whether sufficient stock is available, calculate the total price of every order item, calculate the total order amount, apply 5% discount when the base amount is exceed this one, reduce the available product stock, save the data to a SQL Server database, retrieve an existing order ID by its ID. For this is what order creation. And we are also going to develop one method which is going to return one order based on its ID. So this is the scenario that what we are going to create, and we are going to test each conditions, each behavior. We are going to test using separate unit test method. Clear, guys? What exactly we are going to implement? Right? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Now, so to implement this application, what we are going to use? We are going to use ASP.NET Core Web API. Definitely, it is going to be our application framework. We are going to use Entity Framework Core as the data access technology. We are going to use SQL Server as the database. We are going to use repository pattern to to manage the data access logic. So we are going to create a service layer where actually we are going to implement our business logic. Definitely, we are going to use a dependency injection because everything is going to be interface based. The dependency in object is going to be injected via the constructor of the class. We are going to create a DTOs for the communication between the client and the server. Whatever the data we are going to expect from the client, whatever the data we are going to return to the client, that must be done using DTOs, not using the domain models. So we are also going to create, right, some kind of a domain model. Domain models are nothing but you can say entities, domain models, or you can say entities, which are going to be created as database table in the database. We are also going to create one xUnit text project so that I can write unit text for each individual method. Clear? Is that clear, guys?
Yes, sir.
Right? So now let us proceed and understand.
Unit
Sorry?
of work.
Sorry?
Unit of work.
Yes, unit of work also we are going to implement here.
Okay.
Okay. So unit of work. So everything, right? This is what generally is required for any minimum real-time application. If you are going to develop any, at least if you are going to develop a project in your company, not following the microservices architecture, simple application means minimum these things are going to be there. You should have entity framework core, SQL server, repository, service layer, dependency injection, domain entities, DTOs, custom exception classes, unit of work, and definitely a unit text project. So let us proceed and understand why red project structure matter. See, I'm not going to discuss what is controller, right? What is services, what is repositories, what is unit of work, what are DTOs, what are model and entities, right? What is DB context? I'm not going to discuss. Why? These things we have already discussed many times. I'm simply going to give you some red basic information. So controller is the component which is going to receive the incoming HTTP request from the client. It is going to be behave like your presentation layer. A controller should receive the input from the client. It should pass the input to the appropriate service class. It should convert the result into proper HTTP response, and it should return the proper HTTP status code to the client, right? So for example, a controller should return 201, 200, 400, 404, 500, 201 when a resource is created, 200 when the order is retrieved. I mean, operation completed successfully and you want return data. 400 when the request is bad request, some invalid data is provided by the customer. 404 when a resource is not found in the database. 500 means some internal server error. Controller should not contain complicated business calculations or direct data access code. You should never write any kind of a complicated business logic within the controller class. At the same time, you should never write any data access logic within the controller class. A controller means it should receive the input, pass the input to the corresponding service classes. Whatever the service class return to the controller will format that result into appropriate HTTP response along with a valid status code, and that's what it will return to the client. Clear? Clear or not?
Yes, sir.
Now,
Yes.
what is service? This is the core application business logic. Service is the place where our business logic is going to be implemented. For example, order service layer in our application. So it will verify whether a customer exists. It will verify whether the product exists. It will validate the requested quantity. It will check the available stock. It will calculate the total. It will apply the discount. It will generate the final amount. It will reduce the stock. It will create the order, means it is going to make an entry into the order table or order items table. So the core business logic, rules, validation, whatever it may be, they must be reside inside a service class. And most of the time, right, whenever we are going to write unit test, we have to write proper unit test for the service class. Whether you are writing proper unit test for the repository class or for the, what I can say, controller class method, doesn't matter. But it is very, very matter to write proper unit test code for the service class. The repository means what? The repository contains the data access operations. They communicate entity framework core with the database. So how the entity framework core is going to be communicated with the database, that logic is going to be present inside a content right, repository. So repository means right, you can retrieve the customer data if you are creating customer repository. If you are creating product repository, it is going to deal with the product data. If you are creating right order repository, it is going to deal with the order data. So using this repository, we can perform the database CRUD operations. Unit of work, guys, remember this unit of work is basically used to implement do everything or do nothing principle. So, sir, what exactly do everything or do nothing principle say? If I am going to perform the right, for example, if I'm going to create one order, as well as I'm going to make some entry into the order items table. So if I'm creating the order object and calling the step changes method, I'm going to update the product stock quantity, calling again step changes method, right? Again for the order item. So instead of calling the step changes method again and again multiple times for every DML operations, so what unit of work provides, you do not need to call the step changes method again and again. If it is belongs to the same DB context, do the operation as expected, and let me handle all the operation by using a single step changes method. So, right. So by calling a by using that unit of work, right, we can call that unit of work step changes method, which is going to do the rest of the things behind the scene. So it is take the responsibility to update the data into the product table, order item store, everything. So what is benefit? Benefit is that if one operation fail, then it can completely roll back the transactions. That do everything or do nothing, you can implement using unit of work. The next one is DTO, right? So DTO stands for data transfer object. So we have already discussed. So we should never expose our model entity to the client, because some of the important information that what we are storing in the database might not be exposed to the client. Again, whenever we are taking the data from the client, some of the data needs to be generated by the system automatically, which we don't want from the client. That means what? We should never expose the complete information, complete data, whatever we are storing in the database to the client. So how we can avoid that overexposing, underexposing? So for that purpose, we need to use a data transfer object. Whatever data exactly we require, only send this data, right? Or whatever the data, right, we expect from the client will send those data. So that what you can handle using data transfer object. The next one is modular entities. So these are going to represent the entities or database stored in the table. These are the table that is going to be stored in the database. For example, we are going to deal with the four, right, what I can say entities. One is product, customer, order, and order item. And for these entities, we are going to create some tables. For each entity, we are going to create a table in the database. DB context, this is the entity framework or DB context. It will take the responsibility to communicate with the SQL Server database, and it is also going to manage the tracking of the entities. So simple, right? If you take a simple real-time analogy, think of a ASP.NET Core application like a restaurant. The customer doesn't enter the kitchen and prepare the food directly. So if you are going to a restaurant, are you going to enter into the kitchen and prepare the food by yourself? No. The customer gives the order to the waiter. The waiter sends the request to the kitchen. The chief inside the kitchen follows the business process for preparing the food. How to prepare a tea, how to prepare a pizza, how to prepare chicken 65, whatever. So that process is going to be vary from right type of a food. So accordingly, the chief is there who will follow the process and prepare the food. The storeroom provides the required increments. So every increment is required by the chief that is going to be stored in the storeroom. And the waiter returns the completed order to the one customer. Means what? Once the chief prepare the food, that food will be hand over to the waiter. Waiter will hand over that food to the customer. So this is what generally happen in a restaurant. In our real-time web application, the same thing is also going to happen. So here the client is going to be the customer. Customer is the client. The controller in our application is going to be the waiter. Client send a request. Whenever the client send a request, it is the controller action method which will receive the request. That means one, if client is the customer, then controller is going to be our waiter. The service is the chief. So once the waiter receives the request from the customer, it will send that request to the kitchen. So in this case, send the request to the kitchen means what? It will send the request to the chief. So in our case, the service is the chief. So controller, once receives the request, it will pass the request to the service class. Then the repository is the storeroom assistant. That's remember, this is the storeroom assistant. If you are not using a repository, that is fine. This service can directly communicate with the database. But using a store assistant, right? You can give, hey, Mr. Assistant, please give me 2 kilo potato, 1 kilo tomato, right? Some chicken, whatever. So that room assistant is going to be there, and that in this case repository. So repository will decide. Service class will tell the repository, hey repository, give me the product information. Hey repository, give me the customer information. Hey repository, please add this order into the orders table, order items table. And this database is nothing but your actual storeroom where the increment is going to be stored. Clear this concept, right? Are you analyzing this concept with the restaurant analogy or not?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Now let us proceed and create the project. Whatever we are going to write, whatever we discussed, let us proceed and develop that application step by step. So first of all, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a solution. That solution name is going to be order management. Within this solution, I'm going to create a two project. One is a ASP.NET Core Web API project. Another one is a text project. So let us proceed and create this right step by step. First of all, let me go ahead, open Visual Studio. Okay, so here you can see blank solution. Select this blank solution and click next. So blank solution, you can see order management. Create the next button. So one blank solution is created, and that project, there is no project. And inside this blank solution, I'm going to first add my web API project. So order management dot API. Any name you can give, but that name should be meaningful. So add a new project. And this time I am looking for a web API project. So ASP.NET Core Web API. Click next. Give the project name as order management API. Click next. Click create. So this should create the order API project. Okay. Now, so in the order API project, right? First of all, what I need to do, I need to clean the project. Whatever the auto-generated weather forecast file, I don't need. So I can delete that file. Whatever the weather forecast controller is created, that's what I don't need. So I can delete. So now my project is clean. So as I'm going to work with the order management, I'm going to work with the SQL Server database with the Entity Framework Core. So I need to install these two packages. So here I'm mentioning the version. See, if I'm not mentioning the version, it will take the latest version, which is the Entity Framework Core 10. And Entity Framework Core 10 is not supported with the .NET 8. So I have to mention the version number explicitly. So this is the version number that what I want to install. So how to install? So tools, NuGet package manager for solution. This is the best option. So select this one, go to the browse, and here you need to search this project, right? Entity Framework Core SQL Server. This package you need to search. So this is the package, and here you can see current version is 10, which I don't need. So in .NET 8, what is the latest one in 8? 8.0.29. So that's what you can select and you can install. So on which project you want to install this one? By default, one project is going to be there. Inside that project, it is going to install. So just click it, apply. action. Okay, so he's saying Microsoft 10 is not compatible. See, you can see that 10 is not compatible. That is the reason why it is being failed. So which version is compatible? 8.0.9. So select this one, select the project on which you want to install, and click the install button. This time, it should install the project. I mean package. See, that's one. So the other option is also available. That is using the package manager console. So in package manager console, first of all, select the project which is already by default selected order management API. And to this project, you can install by executing this command. Right? So this is the command that what you need to install. So why two packages? Now one, the first, right, you can say this package we need because we want to communicate with the entity framework or DB context perform the cloud operation. And this package is for database migration, add update, right, update, add migration, update database. So those command we need to execute. That is the reason why this tools package is required. So that's it. So next what I need to do is to the same solution, I need to create my text project. So basically, close this one, close this one. Now, to the same solution, add new project. This time it is going to be xUnit. Select next. Project name is order management or text. Click next and click create button. Okay. So that is created now. Once you created, right, this unit test 1.5 this is not required by us. So we'll create our own text class. So delete this one. So once this is done, right, I need to add a reference from here to here. Why? Because I'm going to create service class, controller class, repositories within this project, order management API. And those things I need to test from the order management.text project. So first of all, I need to add a project reference. Add project reference and select order management API. So that's it. So once we add the project reference, then I need to install one package. So this package is basically for creating the mock object, right? I mean, some duplicate fake object I want to create. So that package I need to install. So what you need to do, again, open package manager console. But this package needs to be installed inside the test project. So select test and execute this one. So this is what, right, is required for creating a mock object. So that's it. So we have created this one. Now the recommended folder structure. So basically, we need to create this folder. So we need to create a data folder, DTOs folder, exceptions folder, models folder, repositories folder, services folder, and a unit of work. So let us proceed and create this folder. Already controller folder is there. So now right click and add a folder named models. Models means what? Now whatever the classes is required for which we want to create database object, I mean table, those classes we need to put inside the models folder. Again, I need to create another folder called DTOs. This folder is going to contain the data transfer object for the request and the response. Whatever the input data we received, whatever the output data we want to return, those DTOs we need to create inside this folder. Then another folder I need to create that is going to be data. And within this data folder, I need to create my DB context. So DB context class is responsible for communication between the .NET application, or you can say entity framework core and a SQL Server database. So that's what we need to create. Then I need to create another class file, another folder called services. Within this services folder, I'm going to create all my service interfaces as well as I'm going to create the implementation classes, so service classes. Another folder I'm going to create that is exceptions. So any custom exceptions required by your application, they are going to be created inside the exception folder. Another folder I'm going to create that is repositories. So all the repository interfaces and the, right, what I can say, their implementation classes, I'm going to put inside this repositories folder, right? And the final folder that what we need is the unit of work. So that unit of work class I'm going to create again inside a separate folder. That name is going to be unit of work. Clear? So these are the folders that what we need in our application. Controller, data for DB context, all the request and response details, custom exception classes will come here. any model or entities you need that will be created inside this model class. The repositories interface and implementations will be here. Service interface and implementations will be here. Unit of work interface and implementations will be here. Guys, remember here, whatever the repositories, whatever the services, whatever the unit of work we are going to create, that is completely based on interface-based approach. Interface-based approach means what? We should have an interface and the implementation class. And this is required for unit testing. If you want to implement unit testing, means what? Means it should be interface-based. Clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now let's start with the entities, right? So whatever all entities, we are going to deal with the 4 entities. So entities means inside a models folder. So right click, add a class file. So whatever all entities required by your order management system, that what we are going to create. So let me go ahead and create this class. So you can see this is the product class ID, that is going to my identity column. Name is going to be there. So product name, product price, product stock quantity, any optional description. And this product can be part of a multiple order item. So that relationship we defined here. Now, the second one is going to be the customer entity, the customer who is going to place the order. That customer information we also want to store in the database. So for this purpose, we need to create a table, and for creating a table, we need the required entity. So in this case, this is going to be the customer entity. Some customer basic information we are going to store. Customer ID, identity, or a unique column. Name, it is going to be there. Email, it is going to be there. And a list of order, whatever all order placed by the customer, that relationship is also defined here, so that the primary key and foreign key are going to be generated. And here, email is also going to be unique. And how to make this email unique? By using a index on that email column of this customer data. And that what we will configure in the DB context class. Next entity what we are going to use is the order entity, where it is going to store the order information. So let me create the class file first. Okay. So order entity is going to be there. So here you can say order ID, that is the identity column. Who the customer placed this order, that customer ID. When the order, and this customer complex object is there because this will created as a foreign key pointing to the customer entity. When the order is being placed, base amount, discount amount, total amount, and as part of this order, how many order items are there, that collection is also going to be there. So the last entity that what we are going to create it is the order item entity. So let me go ahead and create this one. So for each individual order, the customer can add more than one product or more than one product, whatever all products are associated with a particular order. Those are item details it is going to store. So again, identity column, order ID, this is the foreign key. And based on this order read complex object, it will create this as a foreign key. Product ID, again, it is going to be foreign key, right, which is pointing to the product entity. So then for this particular product, how many quantity the user is selected, what is the unit price while placing the order, and what is the line total by multiplying this quantity into unit price. That's what we are going to store in the database. So these are the 4 entities that what we need in our application. Is that clear?
Yes.
Clear, guys?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
So once this is done, next what we need to do, we need to create the DTOs. DTOs are a data transfer object. So first of all, let me create one DTO, order item created DTO. So guys, tell me, if I'm going to place one order, what are the information I need? If I want to place an order, so by looking at our table structure, so what are the data I need? First of all, do I need the customer ID? Who is placing the order?
Yes, customer ID, order ID.
Yes or no?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Then, do I need a list of order items? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes.
So this list of order items should contain what in data? It should contain
Product ID.
product ID, and
Product name.
it should contain
Okay.
quantity. And based on the product ID, price we can fetch from the database. So this, at least this information we need while placing an order. Remaining data, is optional. Um, but for our application, requirement, we need the customer ID, we need the list of order items. Clear or not? Yes or no?
So,
Be practical. Whatever I'm saying, be practical. If it is yes, you said yes. If it is no, then whatever all suggestion you can give, you can also give. So for this one, this is the data. So first of all, order item created details. See, guys, remember the naming convention whenever you are developing any real-time application is very, very important. So now tell me. So this is order item created DTO. So basically, this DTO is going to contain the properties. This DTO is going to contain the properties which are used while creating the order, which is going to be used while creating the order. So as part of the order, whatever all order items are there, that properties it is going to store. So let me go ahead and create this one. So basically, it is going to contain two properties. So what are the properties? The product ID and quantity. And here also I'm applying some validation. So validation is that, so now you might be one question. So can anybody tell me if I'm using the required attribute will be appropriate here, or I'm using this range attribute is appropriate? It is a mandatory field. So if I'm using required, is this going to work?
means you must enter a value for that.
So what is the difference between required and range?
Range default value. If you're not passing any value, you can take a default value.
Exactly. If I'm using required here, then what will happen? Now, if I'm not passing any value, by default it will take 0. Because integer, it is a not nullable type. If I'm not providing any value, default value is going to be 0. So 0 is an integer value, so it will not throw any exception. But that is not what we expected. So our requirement is that if the customer provided one product, then he should provide at least one. The value should be 1. Maximum value, right? If you set 10, 20, 100, whatever, I'm using this max value, so there is no limitation. But minimum value is going to be 1. Clear? Why I'm using range over required? Is that clear?
Yes.
Okay. Then this order create a DTO. So order create a DTO basically is going to contain customer ID and a collection of a order item create a DTO. So let me go ahead and create this class file. Right, so here you can see customer ID. Again, I'm using range and items. So it is required. So these items cannot be null, and minimum length means what? Minimum one item must be there. So required will make sure this is going to be a mandatory field because it is not a value type, it is a reference type. So it should not be null, and the minimum one element is going to be there within this collection. So that what it is there. So we should not pass any empty collection. Collection should not be empty, and minimum one element is going to be there within this items collection. So this is going to my order created detail. Similarly,
Sir,
I am going to create.
sir,
Sorry,
why you are using new keyword here? New,
sorry, your voice is not clearly audible.
so in the items, why you are using new keywords or new?
Okay,
What is
so
because
if you are not see, this is the new syntax which is automatically defer the type. If you are not using it, you can use this one. That is also fine.
by default it
It
is
automatically he will figure out the type of instance to be created if you do not provide. If you provide, that is fine. If you do not provide, that is also fine. So if you are going with this approach, absolutely it will work. And if you are using this approach, this is the latest and the newer syntax, which is also going to be work. Clear?
sir.
Okay, both are going to do the same thing. Now, I need to create the response object. So again, if I'm returning one order, then the associated order items, right? All the informations I'm going to return. So let us create a DTO for the same. See, while I'm creating a order, right, taking the product ID and the quantity. But while I'm returning, I'm going to return every information. What is the order item ID? What is the product ID, product name, description, quantity, unit price, right, line item, every information I'm returning. Similarly, order response DTO. So order response DTO is going to return the order information along with a list of order item response DTO. So let me go ahead and create that one also. Order response DTO. So this is, you can see order ID, customer name who placed the order, customer email, order date, base amount, discount amount, total amount, and a list of order item response DTO. Clear? Clear or not?
Yes.
Okay. So when there is some error, right? So this is fine. But if one customer requesting one order details and that order doesn't exist, then in that case, we need to return some kind of error. And for that purpose, I'm going to create a error response DTO for a consistent error message. If there is some issue, I need to return one error message, and whatever information you want to return, I'm going to return the message. If you want to each success, each valid, some status code, anything else you want to return, right? Additional properties, you can also return from here. Clear till now, guys? Why I'm creating this one? This is for returning the error informations. Clear, guys?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Okay. Next, what I need to do, I need to create my DB context class, which is responsible for communicating with the database using entity framework code. So let me go ahead and create the application DB context class. And here we are going to provide some seed data, as well as we are going to configure our domain entities, right? For example, you can see this is the class inherited from the DB context class. Using the constructor, I'm providing the base option class, and this base option class will be provided to us from the program.cs class file. So program.cs class file will tell us, right, what will be the connection string, and whether you are using SQL Server or MySQL or Oracle. That information will be provided to us, the dependency injection, and that is the reason why it is taking this dependency of DB context option parameter. This parameter, as per the rule regulation, we need to pass to the base class. And how to pass? By using this base. So then these are the four DB set properties for which we want database table. For the product entity, it is going to create a table named a product. Similarly, for customer, the table name is going to be customer. Same in the case of order and order items. So here you can see for the customer entity, I want this email field to be unique. So that is the reason why I'm creating an index on the email field. Also, I'm marking that is going to be unique. Unique means no duplicate email are allowed for the customer. So this is seed data for the product entity. I'm adding 3 product ID 1, 2, 3. Some value I have also provided, and the customer means I'm creating 2 customer with ID 1 and 2. So this is going to be our default data, so that I can directly start placing order without creating any product and customer. So that is the reason why I have provided this seed data. Clear, guys?
Yes, sir.
Is clear?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Now what I need to do, I need to create the repository interfaces. So repository interfaces I need to create. So let us proceed and create the repository interfaces. Okay. So first of all, I need to create iCustomer repository. So what all customer related operations you need to implement, that must be implemented within a interface. So I'm creating this interface, iCustomer repository. So this interface is going to contain one method. That method is going to return the get by ID, get by ID method, taking the customer ID and returning the customer. And why I'm using this question mark? Because it can be a null. So if the customer ID exists in the database, it will return that customer. If not exist, then it will return null. So as it is going to return null, so I'm marking this parameter as an enable type. So this is going to be iCustomer, and this is why I'm putting only one method, because I don't want that complexity of a customer creation now. So now my main objective is order place functionality and how to write a unit test. And for order placing, I need to do the customer validation. So customer validation means whatever the customer ID received as input parameter, whether that customer exists or not. If it exists, then what is the customer data stored in the database? So that what it is going to retrieve. Only one method. Similarly, I'm going to use my iProduct repository. Again, this iProduct repository is also going to contain only one method similar to customer. So we're going to return the product details based on the product ID. If you want to implement um, any other functionality, you can also implement. But for now, for simplicity, I'm creating only this method. So which is going to return me the product based on the product ID. So this is one method which is going to be used as part of the order place functionality. Next, I'm going to use order repository. This is our main method. So this method is going to contain two functionality. One is creating an order. Another one is returning the order by ID. In this case, you can see it is expecting the order object which is going to be created. And in this case, order ID. And that order ID it is going to retrieve from the database. If it exists, if not exist, null it is going to return. So these are the interfaces. Clear? So this interface will return the product customer details. This method will return the product details. This will return the order details, and this will create a new order. Clear, guys?
Yes, sir.
And if you remember, if you see, I have created this method, but I don't have that save method, right? I mean, the method which is going to call the save changes, that method I have not implemented, I mean, included inside this method. See, when I'm calling this add async, it is going to insert some data. After inserting or after performing the DML operation, I need to call the save changes or save changes async method. That method I have not implemented here. Why? Because I want to implement unit of work. So how to implement unit of work, that we'll see. So first, before that, what I need to do, I need to implement these three repository: customer repository, product repository, and the order repository. So let me go ahead and implement this repository one by one. Customer repository. So I'm creating one customer repository class here, which is going to return the customer data. So now guys, tell me, whenever you are implementing the customer order place functionality, so you are going to retrieve the customer data from the database. Are you going to change the customer data, or it is going to be used by the order service class? So the data, whatever you are retrieving from the database while placing the order, is the data is going to be modified by the service class, or it is simply verifying whether the customer exists or not?
It's verifying the customer is correct.
Right? So that is the reason why you can say I'm using no tracking. Why no tracking? Because to improve the performance. This entity simply return the data, but this data is never going to be modified by the service classes. So from the customer table, whatever the order ID we provided, if that customer exists, it will return that customer as part of this method. Clear? This customer repository is clear?
Sir.
Okay. Next one is going to be our product repository. Again, like this customer repository, product repository is going to be there. But now tell me, this method is very similar to your customer repository. But can I use as async here? So whenever I'm retrieving the product information from the product table, so there is a column called stock. So once the order is placed, how much stock was earlier? Suppose one product mobile is there, available stock is 50. One customer place five place an order for that particular mobile with quantity 5. Do I need to reduce 5 from that available stock from the products table for that particular mobile phone? Yes or no?
First, we need to check later based on the quantity. We need to.
My question is, whatever the quantity is there for a particular product, after a successful order, do I need to update that quantity or not?
Yes.
Yes, yes.
That means what? Now, so in this case, I'm not updating the customer. That is the reason why I'm using as no tracking to improve the performance. But in this case, while retrieving the product information, do I need to use as no tracking?
No, not required.
Not required. You should not, because it is should be a tracked object. If I'm using no tracking, then I can never update that customer data. But in this case, I want to update the product data. That is the reason why I'm not using, right, what I can say, no tracking. So in this case, I'm using this find async method. which is going to find the product based on the ID. So if you want to use this logic, that will also work, right? For example, in this case, so you can simply remove this one. And here, instead of a customer, what I can write, product, product, product. So now tell me, what is the difference between these two statements?
Find async means based on the ID, it will fetch that record. Here, first or default async means if the record is there, then it will show. If not, it will give you the default value.
That is not the correct answer. See, this find and async method is going to return a single product. Here also it is going to return a single product. If you are using first or default, if you are only using first, that is a different story altogether. But the difference is that this find async method is always going to accept a single value. That value it is going to compare with the primary key of this column, of this table. Right? So in this case, I'm passing ID. ID means it is always going to check this ID column with the primary key of that table. You got my point?
Yes.
Right? For example, let's assume here also you are expecting some name parameter. So can I pass this name to here? For example, you created this method. Instead of ID, can I pass name? Is this going to work?
No.
No. Why? Because this name it is going to check with the ID column only. Are you getting my point? Why it is going to check within the ID column? Because the primary key column is the ID column. But now, can I use name here?
Yes.
And it will work. That means here the condition, whatever is required as per our requirement, one condition, right? Whatever the complex condition you want, you can write. But here this is fixed. Always it is going to check in the primary key column. That is the reason why I'm using this one. So now I'm going with this ID column, right? So now this is going to my product repository. The next one is going to be order repository, which is going to create the order. So let me go ahead and create the repository class. Okay. So this is my DB context. You can see. So first of all, this add async method. Let me take this to the above, right? So here, whatever the order I receive, it is going to add into the orders table. Guys, tell me, at this point of time, is the order is going to be saved in the database?
No, sir.
Yes or no?
No, no.
It's
So
stored
in
in
this
memory.
case, if it is not going to store this order into the database, then what exactly it is going to do?
It's stored in the memory.
What do you mean memory? It will mark the, guys, tell
Yes.
me,
Yeah, mark the entity state as added.
entity as added. And then when we call the set changes method on this DB context object, it will check how many entities are there in added state. Okay, let me execute the add SQL command. How many entities are there in the update state or modified state? Okay, let me generate the update SQL statement. How many entities are there in the deleted state? Okay, let me execute the delete command. So that's what it is going to do when we call the save changes method on the same DB context instance. Clear?
Yes, sir.
Clear, guys? So this is part of your change tracking. Now, so this is get by ID method. Again, here I'm returning the data, not updating. So I'm using as no tracking. So include means the first level, right? So customer. So while loading the order, include the customer data from the customer, right? Also from this order, include the order items. Then include my means what? Now for each order items, also load the related product. And for this, but and here the filter is going to based on the order ID. So the order, the associated customer, for this order, the list of order items, for each order item, the associated product. That's what it is going to read. Clear?
So why we are using then include? So directly we can use include na, for products.
See, you just tell me, is this right? I have already explained this concept. This product having direct relationship with order or not? In orders table, is there
Yes,
any
sir.
column, right, which represents the product? If you go to the order, any particular column we defined here for the product?
But,
Any column is there? See, whenever you are using this include method means what? The direct navigation properties which are available in the orders table. I mean orders
okay.
class. In the order class, do you have a property called customer? In the orders class, do you have a property called the order items? In the
Yes,
order
sir.
class, do you have a property called customer? Yes. Do you have a property called order items? Yes. So I can use include. So in this case,
Okay.
it is going to return those customers and orders. But this product, is this product available in the orders table? No, not
No,
available.
sir.
Where it is available?
Customers.
If it is available in the customer table, you have to write then include here. If it is
Okay.
available in the order items table, you have to write then include here. Now go to the order items table and check whether this product property available or not. In the orders table, this product property is available? Yes, available. So you have to access that using then include. Clear? So if
Yes, sir.
directly available, you have to use include. If directly not available, if it is a nested relationship, then on which property that nested relationship is available. So after that property, just use it then include. Clear?
Yes, sir. Clear. Thank you, sir.
Okay. So this order repository is done. Now what we need to do, I need to implement a unit of work. So first of all, I need to create one interface that is going to be iUnit of work. And this interface is going to contain only one method, that is set changes async. So let me go ahead and create this one. So this is my set changes async method, which is going to return me integer value indicating success. And then I need to use implement the EFA unit of work. So let me go ahead and entity framework unit of work. Let me create this one. EFA unit of work. Any name you can give. And this method is going to call the set changes method. So EFA unit of work inherited from iUnit of work and initializing the DP context. And here it is calling the set changes method. Clear?
Yes.
So now we have created our repository part. So next what I need to do, as I mentioned, right, we are going to return some kind of right custom exceptions from our application. So whatever all custom exception, not found exception. So basically whenever a customer not found, whenever a product not found, so what I'm going to return, I'm going to return a exception. So this not found exception. So from where I'm going to return this one, right, from the service class. To whom? The controller. So let me go ahead and create this one. So this is going to be, first of all, the not found exception class. So you can see how to create a custom class now inherited from the exception class. And here, when I'm creating an instance of this not found exception class, I want to pass a message, and that message I'm going to pass to the parent class. That's it. So now, next, I'm going to create another exception class, insufficient stock exception. Whenever the customer placing an order with one quantity, and if that quantity is greater than the available stock quantity, in that case, right, I'm going to throw this insufficient stock exception from the service class. And then the controller is going to handle how to and what to return. So here also you can, the process is going to be same. While creating an instance, I need to pass the message, error message, what I want to return. Clear? So we have created, right, the custom exception classes. Clear or not?
Yes.
Okay. Now what I need to do, I need to create our main application logic, that is the service layer. So first of all, I need to create an interface. Where I need to create the services? Guys, we have done some wrong. So I unit of work should belongs to unit of work folder. And then this class also should belongs to unit of work folder. Okay, so let's see whether that class and interface is fine. Unit of work and the unit of work. So this is not a repository, not dealing with any kind of a databases. This is just a unit of work class. So now I need to create the service class. So right click on the service class, I order service. So basically this service class is going to contain two methods. One for creating a order, another one for retrieving the order. So create order, and again this is the service class. This class is going to be called by the controller. Controller will receive the DTO from the client. Controller will return the DTO to the client. That is the reason why you can see the service class is always going to be deal with the DTO. It will receive the DTO from the controller. It will return DTO to the controller. In this case, it will also return the DTO to the controller. So here it is expecting this order created DTO, and here you can see order create DTO is there. So which is means customer ID and a list of order items created DTO. So we have created this interface. Now we need to implement the order service class. This is the main class of our application. So let me go ahead and create this one. Okay. Guys, who is on mute, please mute. Okay. This class is going to be little lengthy, but it will give you more clarity, right? How to write code in a real-time application. See, in this case, what I'm going to do, please observe. So I have set some a discount threshold. Discount threshold means what? Now, if the total order amount is going to be more than 5,000, then the discount rule 5% is going to be applicable. So minimum discount threshold is 5,000. If the order base amount is greater than 5,000, then the discount is going to be applicable. If the order amount is equals to 5,000 or less than 5,000, then no discount is going to be applicable. Then this order service is going to deal with the order repository, product repository, customer repository, and the ID unit of work. That is what we provided. Time provider, guys, remember here, instead of using a date time datetime now.utc, datetime.utc, what I'm going to use, I'm going to use this provider to get the current date time. So why? Because if I'm using this one, then I can set a fixed time, fixed date time by creating a mock object of this provider, and I can inject. This is provided by framework. So this is a framework provided abstract class, right, which we can use directly, right, to set the date and time manually. And this is what we are going to use when we are going to write a unit test to check the exact date when the order is being created. So basically, for example, right, currently I will show you this thing differently, right? What is the benefit of using time provide? So now all these five I have initialized through the constructor. This is my create order. If the order create is null, so it is going to throw argument null exception. The validation is started. Order customer ID should not be less than equals to 0. Created order item should not be null, and the minimum one item is going to be there. If it is 0, then it is going to throw argument exception. Then it is going to fetch the customer by ID. So you can see it is going to fetch the customer details by ID by using the customer repository. If customer is null, it is going to throw not found exception. Guys, remember this not found exception, it is the custom exception class what we created, and what error message we are returning. This is the error message. Customer with ID, whatever customer ID provided was not found. So if you want to write all the statement in single line, that is also possible. So just remove this one. Right? Customer with ID was not found. Then if the customer ID is fine, customer found. If the customer found, then what I need to do? I need to proceed for the quantity verification of the product ID. So here, guys, remember requested quantities by product ID. I'm creating a dictionary. So this dictionary uses the product ID as the key and the total requested quantity as the value. Now you might be one question, sir, what is the big deal? We are already creating this order, right? What I can say, DTO. order created, order created. So we are creating this collection list of order item where it is also storing this product ID as well as quantity. Then what is the big deal of creating this dictionary where it is also going to store the same product ID and quantity? That might be a question, valid question or not?
Yes, sir.
Yes or no? See, what happened, right? For example, the user specify the same product two times. So product ID 1, quantity through, and again, it specify the same product ID 1, quantity 3. So in that case, what you need to do?
To remove one item from that.
So I mean, what you need to do? You need to use the product ID 1. You need to verify this quantity plus this quantity, total quantity for this product ID 1. So if I'm using this provided collection, then it will consider this product ID 1, this product ID, I mean, two different database call it is going to do. So that's what I want to avoid. So basically, this is requested quantities by product ID. If a product ID specified two times, it is going to combine the quantity of that product ID. That is the reason why that combined product quantity of the product ID we are going to store inside this dictionary. Clear? How it is going to store the data? Let us observe. First of all, I'm looping through all the items. Whatever the product ID, if that value is less than 0, I need to throw this one. If the quantity is less than equals to 0, I need to throw this one. Then get the quantity. See, this is one collection. So this is fine. Now, whatever the product ID, I want to check whether that product ID is already available. For example, the same product ID. If I'm looking for the first time, so in first time, it is going to check that dictionary, whether this get value or default. Means what? In this case, what exactly it is going to return? So this get value or default, what exactly it is going to return? So if this product ID is already available, then what exactly it is going to return? What is the associated value? First time I'm running, is this product ID is already available in the dictionary? Yes or no?
First time, no, sir.
First time no. First time no means what? What is the default value of right in this case?
0.
Quantity? 0. So that means previously requested quantity in this case is going to be 0. Then if it is 0, then what exactly it is going to do? It is going to add that product ID with the quantity. So here you can see product ID is going to be the key and the value is going to be previously requested quantity 0 plus the current quantity. What is the current quantity? 2. So in this case, it is going to add product ID 1 with the quantity 2. Again, if the loop will execute, again the same product ID, same thing is going to be checked. But this time, instead product ID is already available in the dictionary.
Sir.
Yes, available. So if available, what is the associated value? The value is going to be 2. So that means this value is going to be 2. Again, for the same product ID, whatever the previously product ID plus this newly added product ID, that what it is going to add. That means one product ID, unique product ID with the combined quantity it is going to store. So this is basically for the unique product ID with combined value. Clear?
Yes, sir.
So unique product ID with combined quantity. Clear, guys?
Sir.
Okay. So this dictionary is done. So it is containing the unique product IDs now. So what I need to do? So then once I have the unique product IDs, then for each product ID, I need to store the product information. And this time, this product is nothing but our entity. So for each product ID, what is stored here, I need to fetch the corresponding product details from where? From the database. And that collection I'm going to store here. Clear? Yes or no?
Yes.
So this is going to be contain unique product ID. So now in this case, so only one product is going to be there inside this quantity, rate requested quantities by product. So in this case, product ID key is going to be the product ID. value, that value in this case, whatever the combined value, that is going to be the total requested quantity, that what we got from this um, dictionary. Then based on this product ID, I need to fetch the product details from where? From the database. If product not found, what I need to throw? Not found exception. If this product ID is invalid. If the product found, then what I need to do? Validate the stock against the combined quantity. So what is the stock written by this product ID and what is the combined stock quantity? I need to validate. So product dot stock, whatever the stock is there in the products table, it should be greater than this one. If it is less than the total requested quantity, then it is going to throw insufficient stock exception. Clear? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay. If the stock is fine, then what exactly it is going to do? It is going to add that product ID, whatever we retrieve, and the corresponding product data into this temporary products table. I mean, into this temporary dictionary. Clear?
Yes, sir.
Why I'm adding here? Because later I'm going to use this product information, product name, product quantity, product price, all this information we are going to use. So if this loop is completed and if we are coming to this place, means what? Means all the validations are passed. Customer is validated, products are validated, quantities are validated, stocks are also validated. That means what? All the validations are passed. So now it is safe to create the order object. So how to create the order? Please observe. I'm creating order object. I'm specifying the customer ID. See now. So in this case, you can use this thing. So order date, instead of using order date, now you can use something like order date equals to date time dot UTC now. So this logic you can write. So date time dot UTC now you can write. This is going to work absolutely fine. But what happened now? Whenever I'm going to create the mocking object, so this is always going to take the system date time. But I want provide the date time. So I want to set what should be the date time when creating a order using the mock object. And if I'm using this date time dot now, that is not possible. So how I can make sure that whatever the date time I set from my text method, that should be written once the order is created. So for that purpose, I need to use the time provider, which is provided by right .NET framework. So now, so time provider dot get time dot now. This is also going to return the same date time what is provided by get time dot UTC now. But what benefit I will get? I can set this object right whenever I'm going to perform the unit testing. So now it might be a little confusing for you to understand this time provider, but for now, just remember this is very similar to your date time dot get UTC. Clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And I'm creating an empty collection of order items because I have to look through one by one. So now this is my base amount. So base amount is there. Now I'm looking through the order items detail, order item DTO. So why I'm stating if the user is provided this information, I want to make a entry into the order items table. If you want to insert only one entry, then what you can do, you can use this DTO. So we have created one uh, dictionary. You can look through this dictionary and you can get the right product ID. If you want to make only one entry, if you want to insert two entries, then just look through the right order item details. Any option. It is up to you only how you are going to calculate the. I mean how the data you are going to. So let assume I want to insert two entries into the order items table. So in that case, first of all, I will figure out the product ID, and then this is my products temporary table, which is going to store the product ID and the corresponding product details. So I'm checking whether that product ID is available inside the dictionary. Definitely it is going to be available. And if it is available, then what is the price and the quantity that is going to be line total? And this is the base amount, which is initialized with 0. So line total. And once I calculate the line totals, I'm going to insert one entry into this order items table. So product item storing, whatever the product I am storing, quantity I am storing, unit price is this one. line total I have calculated here, and that's what I'm storing. And here, whatever the line total for this particular order, that's what I'm adding with the base amount. So accordingly, how many products are there, it will execute. So if you want to use only write a unique product ID, then what you need to do, guys? Only one entry. If you want, then what? Then the loop should be on which properties? The loop should be based on the clear, and here it should be key, and here it should be value. Clear or not? If you want, you only want one entry into the database table, because this is containing the combined quantity. If you are not going with this approach, or if you want to make a multiple entry, then you can go with this approach. Clear, guys?
Yes.
It is exactly your business requirement. Then once you calculate the total, right, reduce the stock, right? Once the orders are added to the order items entity, guys, remember, then what you need to do, you need to reduce the stock. Again, right, requested quantity product ID, this dictionary is there. So you do not need to reduce one by one. Total quantity you have already stored. Here's the product ID, fetch the total quantity requested, and from this dictionary reduce the total quantity, right, for the stock quantity. So once this is done, then finally what you need to do, you need to set the order base amount. So base amount is going to be this one. Discount amount, calculated discount. So here it is going to be a private helper method. So the logic is that, so whatever the base amount we receive, is this amount less than the threshold? If it is less than threshold, then it is going to return discount as 0. If it is not less than this discount threshold, and if it is greater than 5,000, then it is going to apply the discount rate. So discount rate is going to be 5% to and away from 0. So basically, this is the logic for calculating the discount of this base amount. So whatever the discount amount, that method it is going to return. If it is if the total order, if the base amount is less than or equals to 5,000, discount amount is going to be 0. If it is greater than 5,000, based on the 5%, whatever the amount, it will return. And from the base amount, I will it is minus this discount amount, that will be the payable amount. And once everything is set, I need to call the add async method. So while I'm calling this add async method, what will happen? Now it will set the order entity state as added. And here I'm calling this a unit framework set changes method. So this will make the changes permanent to the database. And this map to order response DTO. So this order and customer data I'm passing, which will map the response to a order response DTO. So here you can say order ID, customer, or every information I'm returning. And another method, get order by ID, is there. It is checking if the ID is less than equals to 0, it is going to throw argument exception. Otherwise, it will invoke the get ID method, which is going to return the order. If order is null, guys, remember here I'm not returning not found exception. I'm returning null. If you want to return a not found exception, that is fine. Why I'm returning null? Because I want to check both scenario. What happens when it is throwing not found exception, and what happens when it is throwing null? So that's what I'm going to discuss. And again, it is going to map that order and the customer data, and that order response DTO, it is going to return from this map. Clear? Right? Some business logic, right? Again, guys, remember, business logic can vary from application to application. Now, so what I need to do next? Next, I need to create my order controller. So let me go ahead and create the controllers. Create a class file. Then I will convert that class file to a controller class. So this class is going to contain two action method. One action method for creating the order. Another action method for returning the order details. See, order service I'm injecting because it is going to invoke this order service. But here it is an interface based approach. Logger I have injected, both logger and service order service I have initialized. This is a create order method, which is expecting the order created TTO as input parameter. Here it is not doing anything special. It is simply calling this create order method by passing this order TTO. Whatever the order data it return, that what it is going to return to the client with a status code 201. So while executing this method, there might be some chance that the service method going to throw not found exception. If it is throw not found exception, then I'm going to return a not found with the error response DTO, whatever the exception message that what I'm going to return. Similarly, if the service method throw argument exception, then this is what I'm going to return. For insufficient stock, I'm going to return. Apart from this not found argument and insufficient, because if you look at this class file, I'm intentionally using argument exception. I'm using not found exception, and somewhere I'm using insufficient stock exception. So that what I'm throwing. Apart from this known exception, if any other exception is thrown, that is going to be handled by the catch block. Here I'm setting the internal status code, internal server error, and consistently you can see I'm returning error response detail. So now tell me, from this method, how many different types of a response it can return? How many different types of a status code it can return? Let's tell me. One is not found.
400, 404.
So 404, 400 bad request.
200.
Sorry, one is okay. Let me go from the bottom. So one is internal server error, 500.
500.
Another one is 400 bad request. Another
Yes,
one is
4.
404 not found. Another one is 201 created. So four different types of a response this method is going to return. So that's what I'm specifying here using a produce response type. So here I'm explicitly telling that this method is going to return 201, 400, 404, 500. In case of a 201, what is the response type? Order response DTO. In case of a 40, this is the order response, error response. In case of 404, error response. In case of 500, it is going to return error response DTO. So that if you open the Swagger, it clearly mentions for which status code, what is the response format. Clear?
So it is compulsory you have to mention like the for response type or
Not
optional?
mandatory. This is not mandatory. If you don't
Okay.
mention, right, it will work absolutely fine. But if you
Okay.
mention, it will clearly provide you the signature, right? I mean, from this method, what are the different types of status code you can expect? That's what you can specify. If you don't specify, then you will not get all these informations. Clear?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. So this is get order by ID method. So if the order is null, see in this case you can say I'm returning null, then I'm returning here not found, and here error response detail. So argument exception, I'm returning bad request, and here the generic exception, that what I'm returning. Again, I'm specifying all these things. If you do not specify any of this, your application is going to work absolutely fine. So I commented here and I kept it here so that I can show you the differences. Next, what I need to do, I need to create the database. Open that settings.json file, right? So order DB. Okay, my order. Okay, so this database is already created. So I'm changing that table to red database to my orders DB. And here you can see there is no my orders DB database. So orders DB is there, but no my orders DB. Only two tables are mapped only. Okay, so my orders DB is not there. So that's what I'm going to create. So once this is fine, next what I need to do, I need to configure the required services and the connection string into the program.cs class file into the container. So, okay, let us proceed and see. First of all, I'm disabling the camel case naming convention. Means what? What in the DTO, whatever the property name I specified, the same name as exactly without changing any case sensitiveness I want to use. This is what I configure my application DB context. The DB context option we specified. And here within the DB context option, we are specifying we are using SQL Server database, and the connection string I'm getting from the default connection within the offsettings.json file. Then I'm registering all this one as right, what I can say, add scope, order repository, or product repository, customer repository, a unit of work, and order service. So this is what, because it is going to deal with the database, and this is our singleton time provider dot system. So why? Now, because this is going to be constant. So it is not, it doesn't have any relationship with the database, and it is a constant value you can consider. So making this a singleton means it is good. So Once all these things are completed, then what I need to do? I need to generate the migration command. I mean the migration file and update the database. So how you can do this thing? First of all, set your order management ID as the starter project. Okay. Secondly, open this package manager console window. Okay. Clear this one. Set that API project as the startup project, right? So now execute the command add migration. So this should create the migration file. It will take some time. It will build the project. If any build error are there, then it will not proceed. So build succeeded. So once the build succeeded, it should create the migration. So you will see one folder called migration, and within the migration folder, it is going to create. Okay, so you can see this migration folder. Now we need to update the database. So update database command. So it is going to execute the latest migration, and it is going to create the database. If it is not created, then whatever the changes, I mean table, whatever we provided, it is going to create along with the CD data. So now refresh the database, and here you can see my orders DP database. So we have provided some testing data, seed data. Okay, let me check the customers table. Okay, 2 customers are there. Now check the products table. You should see 3 products. Okay. So this is fine. Now what I need to do, I need to test the API endpoint. So let me go ahead and create one customer to see that our application is working as expected. How you can do this thing? First of all, run the application. Okay. So this is the post method. So place this one. So it should create one order. Okay. Order is created with order ID 1. And you can also verify that order. So let me go ahead and verify that order. Okay. Now let me show you, right? So in this case, if you look at the response structure, responses, so this create order method can return 201. In case of a 201, this is the response what you expect. It can also return 400 bad request. This is the response you expect. This is not found. In case of a not found, this is the response you expect. In case of a 500, this is the response. So when you are implementing this service, based on the status code what you received, you can decide right how to handle the response data. Now coming to this order, get by order item method, only 200 success. Apart from 200 success, right, you can see only 200 success. Anything else is there? No. Now, if you uncomment this one, then you will also see the status code. Okay. Let me go ahead and check the response. So 200, okay, in case of a 200, this is the response type. For bad request, for not found, and for internal server error. These are the response type what you will receive. Clear, guys?
Yes, sir.
Right. So tomorrow what we are going to do, right? We are going to write unit test for the order service unit method. We are going to write unit test for the controller, as well as we are going to write unit test for the repository, right? Integration test. So I mean, most of the time we are going to perform unit testing between the order service and the order controller. Repository integration testing is there, which is not part of this training program. Integration test. If time permits, then I can also take one session to make you understand repository, the integration test. And the end-to-end test, right, means you have to deploy the application and you have to develop the front end and everything you need to state, right, from front end to back end. Clear, guys?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So tomorrow we are going to write the unit test, right? Many unit tests we are going to develop. Right? For example, this is what I have already prepared. So I'll show you what is mock, how to use mock. right? How to create mock configuration, how to create the object, how to write unit test, how to verify different criteria, right? All this. See, text in all order. So many tests I have written, right? Test an invalid customer, test an order without items, test a missing customer, test an invalid product ID. So the text means if you are creating a unit test means one specific functionality. Test an invalid quantity means it should perform this one. It's not going to check whether the customer exists or not. So in this case, invalid quantity only it is going to check. Right. Similarly, I have written right more than 15, 18 unit tests, right? A duplicate products with the combined quantity, duplicate product with right a combined quantity which is a greater than the stock, which is a less than the stock. So for each one, you need to write unit testing. Invalid order ID, test a missing order, test an existing order, right? Everything you need to write unit test for every valid scenario. Clear?
Sir, I have one doubt here, sir.
Yes.
We are using a time provider for that we are getting a given a singleton. This compulsory out that injection or when you are using daytime now we are not giving as a singleton, but time provider we are giving a singleton.
See, time provider I am using only for unit testing. See, what I'm saying, if you are using datetime.now, it will work. But while I'm using the unit testing, I want to specify the order creation date and I want to verify the order creation date, right? So basically, what is my expected output? What is my actual output? That's what I need to verify. If that order creation date I want to verify, then if I'm not using time provider, then how you can verify the datetime.now what you are writing within the service class and the datetime.now what you are writing within order service? Never ever they are going to be same, because the time when your test is running, the time when order is created, both are a different time. So how you can verify whether the exact order date it is returning or not? So that is the reason why I'm using time provider. Time provider means what? So if you are using, see, if you are using time provider, the way I'm using here, it is going to generate the date time dot now. I mean the current date time. But if I'm providing this mock object of this one, if I'm providing a mock implementation of this time provider, then within the mock implementation, what time I specified, that time it is always going to return. How to specify that time? How it is going to return that time? I will show you tomorrow. Clear?
Yes.
Because
That
that
is
is
my
very,
question.
very, yeah. That is, see, if I'm using one time provider here, if there is no use cases, then why should I use that one? And people are not using this one. And even right, I saw many times people are not using this produces response time.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That's the reason I
Right?
am asking.
Yeah, people are not using appropriate customer. How many of you are using custom exception classes in your project? Are you handling all the scenarios in the right controller? If I'm getting this output, then I need to return this one. For that output, I need to return that one. So not found, bad request, right? 500 internal server error. Here you can return 200 or 201. It is up to you only. Clear?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay. Anyone else
Thank you,
having
sir.
any more question, guys?
No, sir. Thank you, sir. Thanks. Good time.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.